take the nearest seat. Order. Order, honorable members, take your seats. Order, Robert Mbui, take your seat. Take the nearest seat. Take your seats. Order. 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 Order, honorable Mbui, take a seat. Order. Either take your seat or freeze. Order, Mawathe. Order, Honorable Mawathe. Order. Take your seats. Members in the walkway, take the nearest seats. Order. Order, Honorable Mawathe. Order. Order, Honorable Mawathe. Order, Honorable Mawathe. You know very well that there's no seat reserved for you in this house because you are not in leadership. So take any seat. Take any seat so that we can have. Order. Order. Order, Robert. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, Mwenje. Honorable Mwenje. If you are in leadership, show example. Take your seats. Order, Honorable Mbui. Order. Order. Honorable Mwenje and Honorable Mbui. Either freeze there, or the honorable members on their feet, take your seats. All the honorable members, I've got two communications to make. Order Wamumbi, Honorable Wamumbi, look for a seat. Look for a seat and sit. Look for a seat and sit. Order, Wanjala, the house is not in business yet. Order. Okay. Robert Mbui, freeze where you are. Honorable Kajwang, take your seats. Honorable GK, take the nearest seat. Honorable members, I have two communications to make. The first one is on the resumption of sittings for the fourth session and lapsed and reintroduction of business. Honorable members, I wish to welcome you back to the House for the fourth session of the 13th Parliament. I trust that you had a restful and joyous Christmas and New Year break, and that you also took the opportunity to engage with constituents on key development matters. I'm confident that you are well rejuvenated and ready to embark on the business that's ahead of us this session, which marks the midterm of the 13th Parliament. Honorable members, at the outset, I wish to thank you all for availing yourselves for the special sitting held on Thursday, 16th January 2025, during which the House transacted priority business. I also wish to thank members for their participation in the just concluded members' midterm retreat, which took place on January 27th to 31st, 2025, as scheduled and witnessed the highest ever turnout of members. On behalf of the leadership of the House, I extend our gratitude to all of you for your participation. This made the retreat a great success and positioned the House for a smooth takeoff in the fourth session. Several resolutions were adopted at the retreat and are currently being implemented progressively by the Office of the Clerk. Among the key outcomes of the retreat was the identification of possible areas that require the National Assembly's legislative intervention. Indeed, some of these resolutions may be contained in unpublished legislative proposals by members, totaling 283, which are undergoing processing. Members who sponsored these proposals are requested to indicate if they still wish to proceed with them or withdraw any that may have since been overtaken by events. Additionally, the retreat underscored the need to maintain the momentum demonstrated during our deliberations, particularly in expediting priority business in the fourth session and strengthening the oversight functions of the House through its committees. Members who have bills, I advise you to get in touch with various committees. In my management meeting today, we noticed that there are certain proposals to amend certain acts that come from 10 different members on the same issue. So if members can get in touch with the Office of the Clerk, we can collapse some of those proposals so that this huge number that doesn't reflect the reality, it gives way to the actual number of pending bills. Honorable members, on matters of social health, you will recall that there were concerns by members about its implementation and also feedback being received from the people regarding the management of the transition process. In this regard, I instructed the Departmental Committee on Health to arrange to meet the Minister of Health and Social Health Authority officials to inquire into the matter and appraise the House by way of a statement. I will therefore accord the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health at some point this afternoon an opportunity to appraise the House on the outcome of the meeting. Honorable members, as we commence the fourth session, I wish to bring to the attention of the House that the term of the following 18 committees lapsed today, 11th February 2025, being the first sitting of the fourth session. The first category, which lapses every session, is the housekeeping committees. These are 1, House Business Committee, pursuant to Standing Order 171, the Committee on Member Services and Facilities, pursuant to Standing Order 212B, the Committee of Powers and Privileges, Section 15 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, the Procedure and House Rules Committee, pursuant to Standing Order 208. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, has lapsed pursuant to the respective standing orders which prescribe. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, has lapsed pursuant to the respective standing orders which prescribe. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, has lapsed pursuant to the respective standing orders which prescribe. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, has lapsed pursuant to the respective standing orders which prescribe. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, has lapsed pursuant to the respective standing orders which prescribe. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, has lapsed pursuant to the respective standing orders which prescribe. The second category, largely comprising Audit, Appropriation, and other general purposes committees, Workers Committee, pursuant to Standing Order 208B, the Committee on Implementation, pursuant to Standing Order 209, the Committee on Delegated Legislation, pursuant to Standing Order 210, the Committee on Regional Integration, pursuant to Standing Order 212, and the Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity, pursuant to Standing Order 212C. Honorable members, in line with the standing orders, the House Business Committee should be listed for reconstitution as the only business in today's order paper, as it owes its exclusive role in setting up business of the House. Thereafter, the House Business Committee ought to receive and consider recommendations from the Committee on Selection and Reconstitution of the remaining 17 committees, including any consequential changes to other committees. I'm aware that at the beginning of last week, the clerk wrote to the leadership of the majority and the minority parties to expedite the process of reconstituting the affected committees, indeed as instructed during our retreat in Naivasha. Having said that, honorable members, I wish to remind the House that in accordance with the provisions of standing orders, any business that was not concluded at the end of the third session has lapsed. This includes any pending motions, statements, questions, and certain bills. Any committee or individual member wishing to reintroduce any lapsed business is advised to do so in accordance with the procedures laid down in the standing orders and other parliamentary practice. Members who may not be clear on the procedure are advised to visit the table office for guidance. Honorable members, with regard to the lapsing of the bills, Standing Order 141-2B provides as follows, and I quote, "A bill that has been published, read a first time, or in respect of which the second reading has not been concluded, at the end of 2 consecutive sessions of the same Parliament shall lapse at the end of the second session and may be republished in the same or different form in accordance with the Standing Orders 114, Introduction of Bills." However, as honorable members will recall, on Wednesday, 4th December 2024, the House approved a procedural motion exempting 19 bills from lapsing during the period of the third and fourth sessions. These are 1. Political Parties Amendment Bill 2022, 2. Fisheries Management and Development Bill 2023, 3. The Metrology Bill 2023, 4. The Universities Amendment Bill 2023, 5. The Preservation of Public Security Amendment Bill 2023, 6. Appellate Jurisdiction Amendment Bill 2023, 7. The Penal Code Amendment Bill 2023, 8. The Legal Aid Amendment Bill 2023, 9. The Prisons Amendment Bill 2023, 10. The Mining Amendment Bill 2023, 11. The Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill 2023, 12. Kenya Roads Amendment Bill 2023, 13. The National Transport and Safety Authority Amendment Bill 2023, 14. The Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Amendment Number 2 Bill 2023, 15. The Gold Processing Bill 2023, 16. The Basic Education Amendment Bill 2023, 17. The Employment Amendment Bill 2023, 18. The Universities Amendment Number 3 Bill 2023, and 19. The Institute of Social Work Professionals Bill 2023. Bills that were not covered under this exemption have since lapsed. However, sponsors of the affected bills who may be desirous of proceeding with them may, in accordance with the standing orders, seek guidance from the clerk. And I repeat, some of those bills, up to 10 bills, are seeking to amend the same acts of Parliament, some the same sections of the same acts. So I encourage those who have those bills to find a way of harmonizing them so that we have a composite bill that can be brought afresh. Honorable members, with regard to questions, those that had been transmitted to the respective ministries by the end of the third session but not yet received a response have also lapsed. However, if any member still wishes to obtain a response, the member is required to visit the table office to formally indicate so. This must be done by close of business on Thursday, 20th February 2025, to enable the leader of the majority party to prioritize such questions when scheduling the appearance of cabinet secretaries before the House. For avoidance of doubt, any questions that had not been transmitted to the ministries, constitutional commissions, and independent offices have also lapsed. Members are, however, still at liberty to file such questions afresh if they wish to do so. As we settle to this new session, honorable members, to ensure effective communication and facilitation of members are also requested to update their biodata with the Office of the Clerk in order for it to be accurately captured in the records and on the website of Parliament. I therefore urge all members to visit the Office of the Clerk at the earliest convenience in order to fast-track this process. Additionally, honorable members, the following 10 bills, which the House passed before proceeding the just concluded recess, were ascended to and are now part of our laws of Kenya. The National Rating Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2022, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2023, the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 11 of 2024, the Kenya Roads Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2024, the Kenya Revenue Authority Amendment number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2024, the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2024, the Tax Procedures Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2024, the Tax Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 47 of 2024, and the Business Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 49 of 2024. I allowed the House for the dedication demonstrated in the passage of the said laws and urge that as we commence the fourth session, we undertake our legislative duty with greater enthusiasm in order to achieve more. Finally, honorable members, as we embark on the fourth session, I'm confident that the House will continue to build on its commendable performance in the consideration of key legislative business and other crucial committee business. Let us remain committed to serving the people of Kenya with diligence, integrity, and efficiency. With that, honorable members, I once again welcome you back and look forward to a productive fourth session. I thank you. Honorable members, at the door, take the nearest seats. I have another communication to make. None. Order. Take the nearest seats, members. Members in the walkway, take the nearest seats. Order, honorable members. Take the nearest seats. Honorable Nabuin, take the nearest seat. Order. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, the next communication. Order, honorable members. Order. Order. Honorable Babu Wino, take your seat. Order. Honorable members, the next communication is on the recognition of members of the National Assembly, conferred state honors and retirement of a long-serving officer of the House. Honorable members, as you are all aware, the offices that we hold as leaders in this republic, including the office of Member of Parliament, are held in trust on behalf of the people of Kenya. Indeed, part of the recital in our own prayer states that we We elected leaders in this House always commit to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote the honor and the glory of God and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and those whose interests have been committed to our charge. Honorable members, in recognition of members' commitment to live up to the philosophy of our prayer when serving the nation, the Parliamentary Honors Advisory Committee has been regularly making recommendations to the President regarding members of this House who ought to be conferred honors in accordance with Article 132(4)(c) of the Constitution. The Parliamentary Honors Advisory Committee, which I co-chair with the Speaker of the Senate, is a statutory body. It is composed of members drawn from both houses of Parliament and the Parliamentary Service Commission. The committee is responsible for identifying and recommending nominees from Parliament as one of the arms of the national government to be awarded national honors. The committee is also responsible for some statutory bodies, including the Office of the Auditor General and the Office of the Control of Budget. To this end, honorable members, the committee in 2024 recommended some members of Parliament and staff for the award of national honors. This was done through a rigorous consideration, including seeking the views or objections of the public on the proposed nominees and taking them into consideration determining the final list of nominees. In this regard, I wish to inform the House that several members of this House were conferred state honors by His Excellency the President during the 61st Jamhuri Day celebrations held on 12 December 2024 in recognition of their distinguished service to the nation in various capacities. Top on the list of honors is the Honorable Junaid Sheikh Nur Mohammed, CBS, MB Leader of the Majority Party, who was conferred the Elder of the Golden Heart, EGH. Alongside him are the following members who were awarded the Chief of the Order of the Burning Spear, CBS. The Honorable Faith Gitau, CBS MP. The Honorable Patrick Macau, EBS, CBS MP. The Honorable Muhammad Ali, HSC, CBS MP. The Honorable Raphael Wanjala, CBS MP. The Honorable Kangoko Bowen, CBS MP. The Honorable Engineer Vincent Musyoka, CBS MP. The Honorable Kimani Kuria, CBS MP. The Honorable Haika Miziki, CBS MP. The Honorable Abdi Shuria, CBS MP. The Honorable Yusuf Haji, CBS MP. The Honorable Gabriel Tongoyo, CBS MP. The Honorable George Kariuki, CBS MP. The Honorable Dr. John Mutunga, CBS MP. The Honorable John Kiaria, CBS MP. The Honorable Nelson Koech, CBS MP. The Honorable Peter Lochakapong, CBS MP. The Honorable Stephen Karani, CBS MP. The Honorable Eric Muchangi, CBS MP. The Honorable Nelson Wamboka, CBS MP. The Honorable Fatuma Zainab, CBS MP. The Honorable Rose Museo, CBS MP. The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, CBS MP. The Honorable Janet Sitiane, CBS MP. The Honorable Tom Joseph Kajwang, CBS MP. And the Honorable Johnson Naika, CBS MP. Honorable members, you will note that the members conferred state commendations are members of the Parliamentary Service Commission, chairpersons of committees, and other ranking members who served for more than 3 terms. In making recommendations, the committee considered other factors including longevity of service in Parliament and performance during the just concluded 14th ESC in the Parliamentary Games, whose agenda is about regional integration. I do note that many members will desire to be part of this list, but slots are ordinarily very limited. I urge the House to take a moment to congratulate them for earning this well-deserved state recognition. Congratulations to all those members. Honorable members, among those who also Also conferred with state honors were 9 members of staff. Please allow me on your behalf to recognize one of them, Ms. Anne Wambui Njoroge, the immediate former Director of Hansard and Audio Services, who is seated in the Hansard box. You may stand up, Anne, just below the Speaker's gallery. I've singled out Ms. Njoroge because she's retiring from the parliamentary service with effect from last week, Friday, 7th February 2025. After 33 years of distinguished service to Parliament. Honorable members, Ms. Njoroge joined Parliament in 1991 during the 6th Parliament at the level of Hansard reporter in the National Assembly after 1 year stint as a teacher at Kwale High School, having graduated from Kenyatta University. She has therefore served 8 parliaments, being the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and the current 13th Parliament. As a career Hansard reporter, she committed her life to the production of precise records of plenary proceedings and committee sessions in the form of Hansard reports. She steadily rose through the ranks of Hansard reporter, 1 assistant Hansard editor, senior assistant Hansard editor, and deputy Hansard editor, and ultimately ascending to the apex position of director Hansard and Audio Services. And you may take your seat. Her notable milestones include the restructuring of Hansard and Audio Services for better service delivery, the formulation of policies that have improved the processes of production of the Hansard reports, and the ongoing project of digitizing production of the Hansard. Indeed, in recognition of the stellar services rendered by Ms. Anne Njoroge to Parliament and the nation, the Parliamentary Honours Advisory Committee recommended her to His Excellency the President, who awarded her the Order of the Grand Warrior, OGW, in December 2023. Honourable members, her presence today in the Hansard box is of great importance, and we thank her for her 33 years of service and diligence in overseeing the production of the Hansard report of our proceedings as the Director, Hansard and Audio Services. On behalf of the National Assembly, the Parliamentary Service Commission, and indeed on my own behalf, I wish to thank Ms. Anne Wambui Njoroge, OGW, for the more than 3 decades of her dedication to the service of the Parliament of Kenya and indeed to the Republic of Kenya. We congratulate and wish you well in your next phase of life in retirement. Honorable members, before you go to what looks like some arguments you are going to have this afternoon, allow Anne to have a dignified send-off by allowing me to invite one of your colleagues who worked with Anne in the Hansard section before he branched off to go and become the Speaker of Baringo County Assembly, and later coming back as the member for Baringo North. Is it Tiati now? The Honorable Kamket. Give Honorable Kamket the mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, it is a
All honorable members, this is a great day for Anne Njoroge. Give her the silence so that she can be honored by one of your colleagues who was her colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, it is a great honor for me to get the opportunity to pay tribute to my former boss, Ms. Anne Njoroge. Mr. Speaker, I joined Parliament myself as a Hansard reporter in February 1997. And immediately, Mr. Speaker, I was thrown into the deep end of Hansard reporting. But I was lucky, Mr. Speaker, to have had a very dedicated, humble, and determined public officer who trained me, Ms. Anne Njoroge, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Robert Mbui. Order, Robert. If Anne Njoroge was your sister, your mother, or your cousin, or your wife, you would love to give her this day. Go on, Kamket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ms. Anne Njoroge is a very dedicated officer, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, that box, Mr. Speaker, the Hansard box, is a box that is very familiar to me. I have sat in that box, Mr. Speaker, for a very long time, under the guidance of that very humble and hardworking public servant. And I'm very proud, Mr. Speaker, to be her product, to be the product of her guidance. And Mr. Speaker, that Hansard box, Mr. Speaker, has also produced not only me, but the Honorable Member for Matungu, the Honorable Peter Oscar Nabulindo, who was equally a Hansard reporter with me under the guidance and leadership of Ms. Anne Wamboi Njoroge. Mr. Speaker, when I joined Parliament in 1997, this House, there was no Parliamentary Service Commission at that time. I remember, Mr. Speaker, we used to go and line up at Mr. Kiliku, the accountant, for salary, Mr. Speaker. And at that time, Mr. Speaker, not even the members of Parliament had bank accounts. We used to line up at the finance office to receive salary. At that time, Mr. Speaker, we did not like the members of Parliament that much, because we would line up for more than 2 hours, and then about 10 or 15 members of Parliament come and overtake you as we all lined up for salary. But perhaps, Mr. Speaker, what's the most interesting about Hansard, because we are talking about Ms. Wamboi today, is that the Hansard, Mr. Speaker, is supposed to be an accurate report of the spoken word without interfering with the facts and the line of thought of the honorable member. It's a very specialized kind of reporting, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say that in the office that I worked with, in the Department of Hansard led by Ms. Wamboi and other officers, we were able, and I believe even as at now, we were able, Mr. Speaker, to capture the lines of thoughts of honorable members, organize their thoughts without losing the facts and realities of what they want to present. And the next day, Mr. Speaker, whenever a member wanted to have or wanted to go through what they contributed to in the House, they would be mesmerized at how well they spoke, at how well thought out their ideas were, only because, Mr. Speaker, the Hansard officers put in many hours of work to make everything right. So, Mr. Speaker, as my colleague, my former boss, Ms. Njoroge, retires, I want to wish her the very best in her life. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that box there, the Hansard box, is a great box. And all officers of Parliament who have worked in other departments, those who have made it to members of Parliament, I want to say that everybody has a chance in life to be a leader of this country. And Ms. Anne Wamboi Njoroge is a great person. She's a great woman, and I'll forever be grateful to her as a person whom she mentored into the great member of Parliament I believe I am today, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you. The second and last tribute to Ms. Njoroge is from Owen Bayer, who represents the constituency where she came from before she came here.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, I rise today to salute a distinguished public officer, Mrs. Anne Wamboi Njoroge, who has recently retired from her position as the Director of Hansard and Audio Services in the National Assembly. Mrs. Njoroge's journey in the public service began on October 7th, 1991, when she was first appointed as a Hansard Reporter 2 in the Hansard Department. Her dedication and commitment saw her rise through the ranks until she was promoted to the position of Director, Hansard and Audio Services in the National Assembly, the position she recently retired from. Mrs. Njoroge has been an integral part of the Hansard Department and of the National Assembly, contributing to the accurate and comprehensive recording of parliamentary proceedings. Her meticulous attention to detail and commitment to excellence have ensured that the Hansard reports remain a reliable and valuable resource for members of Parliament, researchers, and the public. Honorable Speaker, before joining public service, Mrs. Njoroge served as a teacher at Kwale Boys High School, where she taught many students, including Mike Mbuvi Sonko, former Makadara MP and second Nairobi County Governor and first Senator of Nairobi County in Form 2 in 1990. Honorable Speaker, Mrs. Njoroge's tenure has seen her work alongside many prominent figures in Kenyan politics, including the late President, His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki, the late Honorable Michael Wamalwa, the late Honorable Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the late George Anyona, the late Honorable Martin Shikuku, the late Honorable Henry Nthenge, the late Honorable Kenneth Njindo Matiba, the late Honorable Jeremiah Nyaga and his sons, the Honorable Norman Nyaga and the late Joe Nyaga, the late Honorable David Mwenje, the late Honorable William Olen Timama, and the late Honorable Bonaya Godana, to mention but a few. I'm also told that she taught the Honorable Mashetani, the former MP for Lunga Lunga. She recalls memorable events, Mrs. Njoroge, such as one, members' induction in 2013, where she presented on parliamentary privileges and gave the example of Honorable George Nyanja, the former MP for Limuru constituency, who jumped the fence along Uhuru Highway in the 1990s to avoid being arrested. She also recalls the firm chairmanship of the late Honorable Anyona as the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, and the late Jaramogi and the late Kijana Wamalwa as their chairpersons of the Public Investments Committee. The Honorable Anyona was also a firm deputy speaker. Honorable Speaker, Mrs. Anne Wambui Njoroge's contribution to the Hansard Department at the National Assembly has left a lasting legacy. Her unwavering dedication and professionalism have set a high standard for all who follow in her footsteps. As we recognize her invaluable service, let us extend our heartfelt gratitude and best wishes for her future endeavors. Honorable Speaker, please join me in recognizing and celebrating on a remarkable career of Mrs. Anne Wambui Njoroge. Honorable Speaker, I would like to salute and I give you the greetings of the Leader of the Majority, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, can we have a foot thumping for Mrs. Njoroge? Thank you. And we wish you well in your remaining productive years in public life. And may God give you guidance and protect you. Next. Yes. Yes, Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to wish all the members Happy New Year. And Mr. Speaker, also to congratulate all the members that have been awarded, and also to congratulate Anne for the amazing work that she has done for the Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, also just my concern as a woman leader, that I hope that when you have a woman rising to that level, that there will be another woman who will be able to either go that high or to a level almost as high, because women are not usually represented at that high level. Mr. Speaker, Having said that, and even in acknowledging the members, I know that your committee forgot me, but you will correct that in their words. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, I wish to stand. Yes, I do have a CBS, but I also want to rise. I'm still doing good work. Mr. Speaker, if I don't praise myself, who will praise me? Mr. Speaker, I wish to stand under standing order number 19A and 20. Mr. Speaker, of our standing orders, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to indicate further to a court decision, the High Court decision.
Order, Millie. Take your seat. I know you did see me in my chamber and indicated you raise a matter that you're trying to raise. I'll give you an opportunity, but let's finish with some preliminaries first. Clerk, order. Order, Angela.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority.
Majority leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, February 11th, 2024. 1, the Auditor General's report on...
Order. Order, Orone. Order. Order. Take your seats. Order. Take your seats. Order. Order, members. Order. I will order that matter to be stayed. Let me hear Millie Odhiambo's point of order. Order. Millie Odhiambo, I'll hear your point of order. Order. I will hear Millie Odhiambo's point of order. 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 Honorable members, take your seat. Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, honorable members.
Order. Member for Kilifi. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, take the floor. Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order. Let's order. Millie Odhiambo, take the floor. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Standing Order 19A and 20. Mr. Speaker.
Hold on, Millie. Honorable members, can we hear Millie Odhiambo? Order, Angela. Order. 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 Honorable Gertrude Mbeyu, and those who are conducting themselves like you, Honorable Mawade, the excitement does not preclude the application of standing orders. And if I see you getting rowdy again, I'll request you to leave the chamber. Millie Odhiambo. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand under Standing Order 19A and Standing Order 20. Mr. Speaker, and in furtherance of a recent decision by the High Court HTC number E202 of 2023, Kenneth Njagi Njiru, and 11 others versus the National Assembly of Kenya and others. Mr. Speaker, I will not go to the demerits and merits of that matter. I will go to what the court concluded, which is that the Azimio side is the majority. And based on that, Mr. Speaker, again, because I've said I'm not going to the merits and demerits of that decision, Mr. Speaker, I want to just indicate that I have therefore, as the majority party whip of Azimio, today handed over to your office a copy of that decision of the High Court with a letter that we are giving you according to the standing orders, our majority leader as Honorable Junet Mohammed and Honorable Robert Mbui. Mr. Speaker, following the standing orders, Honorable Junet will thereafter then communicate me officially as the minority whip going by what the standing orders, but a majority whip. Majority. Mr. Speaker, I also stand under standing order 90 and had actually consulted you about this. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the judgment of that court, the court actually infer that because of the position you hold as Speaker and also as Chairman of your party, Mr. Speaker, it is not as party leader of your party. Mr. Speaker, it is not possible for you, to be fair, you are going to be conflicted when you are conducting the matters of this House. Mr. Speaker, I therefore humbly request you to step down and mandate Honorable Gladys Boschole to take over in discharging the functions as the Speaker because of your conflict of interest. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in concluding, Mr. Speaker, because I said I'm not going to go to the merits and demerits of the matter, in concluding, I want to urge that as a parliament, we need to obey court rulings and decisions, even when we don't agree with them. And Mr. Speaker, I also just want to indicate that you can see my two colleagues are standing next to me. My advice to them in future is to follow a philosophy from my community which says, Telo Ikao, Telo Kumingato. So next time they should do what Honorable Ruku did. Jump if you have to, but take your position the way Honorable Millie has done.
Is that part of your point of order?
No. Mr. Speaker, I said as an obiter. And Mr. Speaker, I would also just want to say, very finally, also as an obiter, Mr. Speaker, people are also talking about broad-based. Again, I'm very careful. I'm saying this as an obiter. It's not my substantive argument. Mr. Speaker, people talk of broad-based. Yeah, and even when you look at the decisions of the arguments of the court, they keep making reference to the de jure and the de facto. And many things may have changed over time. And Mr. Speaker, I'd want to say that actually if you look at this side of the House today, we are seeing broad, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we want to see good faith, we want to see if it is also based. It is broad. But based will depend on the decision going forward. Otherwise, we will be told by the court it is hot air, this broad base is hot air, wild goose chase, and all those other things, Mr. Speaker.
Some latitude as to whether the Speaker, yours truly, should preside over these proceedings or not. I'll dispose it off as follows. One, that judgment does not cast aspersion on the Speaker presiding on such proceedings. Number three, in similar situations, in the 10th Parliament, a motion was brought to this House by the then member for Kibwezi the Honorable Patrick Musimba, to discuss the conduct and the possible vacation of office by Speaker Muturi as he then was. Speaker Muturi presided over the debate and the vote was taken and the motion went the way it did. Number 4, in the 7th Parliament, when I was a fresher in this house, the Honorable James Orengo, or one of the then Ford Kenya members, brought a motion to discuss the conduct and character of the then Speaker, Francis Xavier Kausai Olekaparo. Kausai Olekaparo presided over the proceedings. The motion was debated and put to a vote, and it went the way it did. I'm sure you know that neither Muturi nor Kaparo left office on the basis of any motion. Number 4. Number 5. You as truly as your Speaker does not debate, does not vote. I hold a position of honor to preside over your proceedings. Anybody who wants to say anything about this judgment, I'll give you an opportunity. And it's finally going to be yours truly to give you a ruling on the matter. It must also be made very clear as we listen to each other that neither the court nor any authority outside this chamber, and senior lawyers like Otiendo Molo should know this, neither the court nor any other authority outside this chamber can make declarations that affect the conduct of business here except yourselves by voting and by the Speaker giving you rulings. Number 7, we sit here as a quasi-judicial body. And as a quasi-judicial body, I will listen to you, and I assure you, I'll give you a fair finding. It is like going to court and telling a judge that because the lawyer appearing before him was his classmate, he will not be fair. That has no foundation in law or in fact. So I'll open up and hear those who want to have similar points of order, as Millie Odhiambo has raised, on the judgment. And I want also to caution you members that your standing orders do not allow you to discuss the person or character of any judge unless you have brought a special motion to discuss that judge. You can analyze the judgment, you can agree with it, you can disagree with it, you can qualify it, you can do whatever you want. But don't disparage or discuss the character of any judge without a special motion as is provided for in our standing orders. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, that is my direction. Thank you. Yes, Wanjala. What's your point of order? Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the first clarification, which we have humbly understood and agreed with. But, Mr. Speaker, you have left out the second issue about the majority leader in the House.
Order, Angela. That is exactly the issue that Millie raised. That she has written to the Speaker. Yes, I've received the letter. I'll analyze it. I have given you an opportunity to speak to her point of order or any other point of order. Yes. Yes, Junaid Mohammed.
Mr. Speaker, first I want to say today that I am privileged to speak from the seat of the majority leader. Because, Mr. Speaker, even when I sat on the seat, it is very warm, Mr. Speaker. Unlike mine, which was very cold, Mr. Speaker. I didn't know the seats of Parliament have different warmth, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I don't foresee myself leaving this seat anytime soon. I don't see myself leaving this one anytime. But having said, Mr. Speaker, as you are aware and as you have alluded to, Mr. Speaker, there is a court ruling. A ruling of court consisting of 3-judge bench, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a court ruling has only got 2 decisions, Mr. Speaker. There is no third way about it. One is to obey it, and secondly, if you have any avenue of appeal, you exercise that right of appeal, Mr. Speaker. There is no third way about it, Mr. Speaker. And the court ruling, what we went as Azimio after the election, after your decision here, Mr. Speaker, what took us to court was for the court to interpret for us the constitutionality of your decision on who's the majority party and who's the minority party in this House, Mr. Speaker. And the issue of the Speaker came in as obiter, Mr. Speaker. But what took us to court, we wanted to know, because when we arrived here after the election, we arrived here knowing very well that we are the majority party, Mr. Speaker. And we are the numbers. But midway, we ended up losing numbers through your ruling, Mr. Speaker. And that is what took us to court, to ascertain whether we are the majority and whether we are the minority. And luckily, the court has made its ruling, albeit late, Mr. Speaker. We expected this ruling much, much earlier than this time, Mr. Speaker. But it is better late than never. The decision arrived, and the decision has said that the Azimio party is the majority party in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And I so happen to be the minority leader as of now, Mr. Speaker. So today afternoon, I just switched seats, and I took over the role of majority leader, Mr. Speaker. And I am capable of doing that work, Mr. Speaker. I have the capacity, I have the qualifications, I have the capabilities, I have the numbers in the House, Mr. Speaker, to lead, Mr. Speaker. I have everything what it takes, Mr. Speaker, to be the majority leader of this House, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, the issue that we need to exercise, to analyze, Mr. Speaker, is that, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. Mr. Speaker, court rulings are very important, Mr. Speaker. You remember after the election, we disputed the result of the election. We ended up filing a court case in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court pronounced itself that we did not win the election, and the other party won the election, and we abided by it, and we respected the court ruling, Mr. Speaker. This court ruling also must be respected, Mr. Speaker. Because it's not like any other court ruling, Mr. Speaker. It's a ruling of the Court of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this ruling cannot be taken jokingly, Mr. Speaker. When I went through it last evening, Mr. Speaker, these judges are raising very serious fundamental issues. They are raising issues relating to violation of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And you remember we impeached someone here because he violated the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if this matter is not addressed, we are going to have a constitutional crisis in this country, Mr. Speaker. So for that reason, Mr. Speaker, jurisdictions all over the world and democracies all over the world that we borrowed from, even this presidential system that we are running today, that is running in this country, Mr. Speaker. In the United States, there are times when the executive is from the Republican Party and the House is ruled by the Democratic Party, and life goes on. It doesn't matter that we are going to oppose everything that the government wants to do. If government brings here bills and policies that are of benefit to the country, we will support it, Mr. Speaker. And as you know now, many things have gone under the bridge. There is this animal called also broad-based, Mr. Speaker. We want to broaden, deepen, and tighten this relationship, Mr. Speaker. If I may borrow your words, we want to broaden it, deepen it, and tighten it, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have a country that is cohesive, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no way we are going to have this animal in place And then when we want to become the majority, people look at us with suspicious eyes. How can it be, Mr. Speaker? Members of Parliament are members of Parliament. They work under the Article 95 of the Constitution, which has given them the roles of oversight, legislation, and representation, Mr. Speaker. We are not going to do our business outside Article 95, Mr. Speaker. So, I want to allay fears here that the majority in the House must be from the ruling party. That this ruling is giving us posterity. This is doing things for posterity, Mr. Speaker. Next election, or the other election in 2032, a government might come in place where the president garners the majority votes and is elected as the president, but he will not have numbers in parliament. His numbers might be few in parliament, and it becomes a minority. So this is now the trend we are setting, that parliament is independent, judiciary is independent, executive is independent. We have no problem with the executive to do their work, and we know the President of the Republic of Kenya as of today is Honorable William Samoei Ruto, Mr. Speaker. There is no doubt about that. So there should be no ambiguity and doubt that the majority leader in the National Assembly is Honorable Junet Mohammed, the Member of Parliament for Sunnis, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. And I am going to serve the country diligently, Mr. Speaker, without any fear and favor, Mr. Speaker. I am a seasoned politician. I am serving my third term in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. I know how Parliament operates. I know how Parliament does its work. And I understand how bills are done in this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. I have gained enough experience. So this mindset,
Wind up,
Mr. Speaker, this mindset that the ruling party must have majority in Parliament for them to do the executive work of the country, Mr. Speaker, that mindset must be gotten rid of, Mr. Speaker. We must emulate democracies that have matured over 200 years, Mr. Speaker. In the last election, in the last administration of Biden in America, Mr. Speaker,
Wind up.
the Republican Party was controlling the House, Mr. Speaker, and the Democratic Party was controlling the Senate, and life was going on as usual, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, my advice to the House and to Parliament in general is that the only solution to this problem is to go to appeal. Until the appeal overturns this matter, I shall be recognized as the majority leader of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Those few remarks, I conclude.
Kainan, order, honorable members, before order Wanjala. Order. In all civilized parliaments, when you appreciate a point, you thumb your foot. You don't stand up and throw your hands in the air. Kainan, before you take the floor, let's have some ground rules. Everybody are given an opportunity to speak. Can we do 3 minutes? Is that good enough? Everybody are given an opportunity. We do 3 minutes. I want 3 minutes. Let's also observe decorum. 3 minutes. Honorable Robert Mbui and Honorable Mwenje, if it is making a point, you have made your point. It is beneath your dignity to continue standing there while the matters are going on. Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is luckily...
Order. Let's hear each other in silence.
Mr. Speaker, this
If
is...
you really want to get a reasoned ruling from the Speaker, let's hear each other. Kainan, give to Kainan.
Mr. Speaker, this is the House of Rules. This is the House of Traditions. This is the House that enjoys being a quasi-judicial institution. Mr. Speaker, on the face of it, I want to take this opportunity to welcome my colleagues to this very important session and say that the Kenyan people outside there are really looking upon us to deliberate in a civilized manner and guide this nation. Mr. Speaker, there comes a time when there are issues that must be deliberated and agreed upon. And I want to agree one thing with my brother Junet, that you are qualified even to be the President of the Republic of Kenya, not even the majority leader alone. Mr. Speaker, having said this, there are certain things that we must clear and follow the procedures, and it's only the procedures that will guide us. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the order paper today, the next order paper, order number 8, is supposed to provide for the appointment of members of the House Business Committee, which is the anchor committee for the House Business, Mr. Speaker. But we cannot reach there until certain issues are sorted out, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, now that we can discuss the appointment under this order number 8, I want to seek your guidance on the following. Mr. Speaker, it's apparent that the High Court last week has quashed the ruling contained in the Speaker's communication dated 6 October 2022 on the majority and the minority. That is a fact. It cannot be denied. Mr. Speaker, secondly, I had a chance to go through this great ruling. I've internalized, I've looked at it, I've seen what it means, I've seen what in the letter and interpretation of this, what the Speaker in the House is generally expected to do. Mr. Speaker, on the face of it, there are certain, the petitioner sought the following declaration to be issued that Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition is the majority party in the National Assembly based on the outcome of the general elections of based on the outcome of the elections of members of the National Assembly held on 9th August. The second, Mr. Speaker, prayers was the declaration be issued to declare that Kenya Kwanza Alliance is a minority party in the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the orders given, even under order number 4, it's a bit confusing. It is not explicit. It doesn't say this. The court declined. They quashed the Speaker's ruling, but did not give proper guidance on what constitutes the majority and the minority. Mr. Speaker, from...
Give him 1 minute.
It is clear, Mr. Speaker, the court quashed the ruling of the majority and the minority, but never answered the question on how this later on is going to be arrived in the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this means we are back to square one where we were when this parliament started. We are back to square one, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, unless this question is determined, we are staring at a crisis. Mr. Speaker, I say this because standing order,
yes.
Standing order 171, I'm on a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Wanjala. What's your point of order? Give him the mic. Give Wanjala the mic. There you are.
Mr. Speaker, courts are arbiters. And when they have given orders or declarations, it's up to the institution to implement. It is not debated.
Order, Wanjala.
You have seen the ruling of the court.
Order, Wanjala. Order. Order, Wanjala. I don't know whether... Have you even read that judgment? Have you read that judgment? Kainan, wind up.
I'm trying to say that unless this question pursuant to Standing Order 171 is determined, we are facing a crisis, and this crisis can only be sorted out with a proper guidance from the Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to say is this. This state of affairs, Mr. Speaker, portends a crisis for the House, Mr. Speaker, and therefore we want your guidance, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 171, on which party is the majority and which party is the minority. Once that is determined, Mr. Speaker, all the other things will flow, Mr. Speaker, and therefore I want to seek your guidance on this.
Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, he's occupying our space, Mr. Speaker. Why can't they just move to their side?
Order. Order, Robert Mbui. Order, Robert Mbui. If you listen to me carefully, Robert Mbui, order, members. And I want you to listen to this carefully. Order, members. Order. I did say, Robert Mbui, and you are misconducting yourself. You are too senior to be told to leave the chamber. I did say, and I want to repeat, and Emilio Odhiambo, who raised the point, has read this judgment clearly. The judgment quashed the direction of the Speaker on the majority-minority. The judgment never declared who is the majority. It is not the court to declare the majority. It is the Speaker of this House. And you better know that. It is the Speaker of the House to declare the majority. Robert Mbowe gone. Not Osoro.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to speak it up from what you've actually said, Honorable Speaker, that even upon reading the judgment of the court, the standing orders of this House, Honorable Speaker, gives you power to declare who is the majority and who is the minority. We appreciate the judgment of the court as it is. We are ventilating about the judgment. We respect the courts. But again, it is these very laws that govern, as Honorable Speaker, that give you that power, as Honorable Speaker, to declare the majority and minority. So even as Honorable Junet and the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Honorable Speaker, live on rented space, they should know that the final declaration of majority and minority comes from your seat, Honorable Speaker. But even then, Honorable Speaker, perhaps we should ponder and ask ourselves these very pertinent questions. In the past 2 years that we've served in this House, Honorable Speaker, we've served in these capacities, as it were, on who is the majority and who is the minority, Honorable Speaker. Several decisions have been made. We have formations of the committees that fall on the majority, minority, chairman, the committees that are supposed to be led by members from the majority side, and the committees that are led by the members of the minority side. Does it mean, Honorable Speaker, that every decision that has been passed by the report that has been passed by the committee that falls on the minority, as it were then, and the majority, is it rendered mute as it is right now, Honorable Speaker? If going by the judgment, if we read on the judgment, like they want us to define it as it, just on plain paper, Honorable Speaker, that is question one. Question two that we should ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker. Right now, the selection panel, Honorable Speaker, of the IEBC that was nominated by both the minority parties or the Parliamentary Service Commission, that minority party brought the membership, the majority party brought the membership. The IEBC selection panel has already started working, Honorable Speaker, right now in terms of selecting the next commissioners. What then happens to them? What happened to that selection panel? Because they were appointed on the basis of the majority and the minority when the Parliamentary Service Commission submitted the names. Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker. The Commission for Revenue Authority, Honorable Speaker, that again is a preserve of both the minority and the majority. Honorable Speaker, what then happens on the decisions that have been made in the past 2 years? The allowances that have been paid, Honorable Speaker, the travels that have been made, everything that we've passed, Honorable Speaker, in this house. Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves because we are at the midterm of this Parliament, Honorable Speaker. Even as you retire to make this your ruling, Honorable Speaker, it is important for us, Honorable Speaker, to ask ourselves those very pertinent questions because we shouldn't just be...
Okay. Thank you, Osoro. Give him a minute.
Honorable Speaker, you see, we shouldn't just be talking about positions on who is the minority, who is the majority leader. And as Honorable Junet as well put it, we are all members of Parliament and we can serve in whatever capacity. But let's look at the implications of this decision, Honorable Speaker. What happens to what we've passed in the past 2 years? What happens to the right decisions that are leading this country in the past 2 years, Honorable Speaker? What happens to the IEBC selection panel? Those are the questions. Otherwise, I'll tell my colleagues, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, who is saying that she has added in her CV the position of the chief whip of the majority. She'll only do that, Honorable Speaker, in her dreams. It will not work. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
David Ocheng.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the three judges.
Order, honorable members, can we listen to each other?
I want to thank
Save David Ocheng's time. Order, members. Order. Order, members on their feet. Take your seats. Honorable members, I have given you guidance and I want to repeat. The upshot of the judgment of the court, in law we say, we go back to the status quo ante. Status quo ante. When you go back to the status quo ante, then the House has to make a decision and a finding on who the majority is. The court has not declared any party a majority in this House. Read the judgment carefully. Don't speak from what you are hearing in the air. That is number one. Number two, order, Wanjala. I'm just giving you guidance so that you don't speak irrelevantly. We have gone back to the status quo ante. Convince the House as to its majority, the Speaker will make a finding. On a fact, David Ocheng.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the three judges for their judgment of last week, Mr. Speaker. We got a new constitution that we keep testing and that keeps guiding us on how we run our affairs as a country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, under the law we passed in this parliament on coalition making, Mr. Speaker, it is presumed that there will be coalitions, people will leave coalitions, some will enter coalitions, Mr. Speaker, and so it is presupposed that in any term of parliament, Mr. Speaker, one side will be a minority today, tomorrow that side may be a majority, because this is a moving target, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as to who is minority or majority is not cast in stone, and therefore the finding by the court, Mr. Speaker, that the decision on who is majority and minority in the 13th parliament was decided on 8th of August 2022 is wrongful, Mr. Speaker. I disagree with it because, Mr. Speaker, today, if Ford Kenya and ANC that was left Kenya Kwanza, Mr. Speaker, and joined Azimio will have more members than the remaining UDM, Mr. Speaker. And in that regard, Azimio will be the majority party, Mr. Speaker, and will be called upon to make that decision as Speaker and will decide as so. So I disagree with the judge's finding that the decision on who is majority and minority was made once. It cannot be made once. It depends on the facts of the day in this House. If, for example, tomorrow I'll be heard, I'm sure I'm going to be heard. I will be heard, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, if today in Azimio, if Wiper left and Jubilee left and UDM left, Mr. Speaker, Azimio will have only ODM with 85 members, Mr. Speaker. It will be a minority. So the decision on who is minority and majority, Mr. Speaker, moves like a pendulum depending on who has left which coalition. So you cannot tell us that that decision is made once only in the election, Mr. Speaker. And that's why the judges are wrong on this matter, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, very important, Mr. Speaker, it's very important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the day you made this decision, Mr. Speaker, the day you decided on this matter, you had facts before you. You had evidence before you telling you that UDM has left Azimio. MDG has left Azimio. UDM, MDG, NCPP, PA, you had those facts before you. You couldn't ignore those facts. You can't ignore them. Even in this, Mr. Speaker, you made a finding, Mr. Speaker, that the courts have not said that Azimio is a majority. The courts have said, go back and decide. And so Azimio must today convince you.
Yes. Morogara, I'll give you. Morogara.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what you need to decide on is the wording of Article 108 of the Constitution and the Standing Order number 19 of our Standing Orders. Of importance is the use of the verb to be in that particular article and in that particular standing order. The minority or majority party is the party at that particular moment. And therefore, it is not cast on stone, as the court tried to tell Kenyans, that majority and minority were determined on the election date. The words used, the tense used is, which means from time to time as the issue comes into question. Therefore, the court was wrong And this is one of the... Yes, I respect the decision of the court, but on appeal, we will be arguing that the 3 judges were wrong because they actually did not take into consideration the use of that verb to be by having it in the present tense, that it is from time to time. And one example I can give is this. As at before the ruling, the majority was the Kenya Kwanza coalition. If the parties like UDA actually left Kenya Kwanza, does it continue to be the majority? No. It loses the status because that is determined from time to time by how many members are in the party or how many members are in a coalition. The court actually overreached when they went to interpret it this way, and we shall be taking these matters on appeal. But today, because the course of action of the 6th of October 2022 is spent, we require from you, Honorable Speaker, you give us another ruling using the verb to be. Present tense is who is the majority and minority today as we speak in Parliament. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Maklap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want members protect me from these members. Mr. Speaker, this decision of the court, I find it belated. Mr. Speaker, for one reason. This decision was based at a freezing point. The freezing point was on August 9, after elections, after what was called pre-election coalition agreements. After the 8th and after we were sworn in, Mr. Speaker, there was again post-election agreements, meaning, Mr. Speaker, that the formation of parliament and the composition of parliament and in terms of parties and coalitions is a moving average. Mr. Speaker, it's a moving average that will be determined by interests of members of parliament and the parties that form that particular coalition, Mr. Speaker. You are aware, Mr. Speaker, during your determination, at that time, Mr. Speaker, parties like Jubilee had some members moving to Kenya Kwanza. There were some members, Mr. Speaker, UDM had already changed the position, Mr. Speaker. So what even if Wamunyora have changed their position now, Mr. Speaker, you need to ensure there is a post-election agreement, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are determining, Mr. Speaker, is a fundamental thing that will guide Parliament for many years. Mr. Speaker, we must determine how many post-election coalition agreements that shall continue to be there to guide the majority and minority in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. In that way, Mr. Speaker, we shall have Parliament that are made of people who are very sober, that they know where they are and where they sit, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in a parliamentary system, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter where you sit here in Parliament. It is only a tradition. It is only a tradition, Mr. Speaker, but in terms of determination, Mr. Speaker, of minority party or majority party rests on your case, Mr. Speaker, and rests on existing post-election agreements that have continued to be there, Mr. Speaker. So it is over to you, Mr. Speaker. Based on those, Mr. Speaker, this is a continuous moving average and it will continue to change, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Donya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The fact that, Mr. Speaker, you have told us that we debate and you are going to rule on this one. I ask myself, the fact that Azimio didn't win the election of the Speaker, who are the majority then, that is our question. If we are debating, if you didn't win, we didn't win, I'm in Azimio, we didn't win the position of the Speaker, who are the majority then. That is, yes, that is the answer. You should answer. Who won? Who won? Put the question. question, Mr. Speaker. Who won the position of the Speaker? Then, who are the majority? Then, we should be debating on other things, Mr. Speaker. We should help our people. Like Kisii, we have no water, we have no electricity. We are discussing things that have been shot straight. Who was the Speaker then when we came to Parliament? The first time on 29th of September, who was elected as the Speaker? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wamboka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My contribution is as follows. First, I'll speak as an elder from Luya community. No, you relax.
Order.
I'll speak as an elder from the Luya community that let's keep the Speaker out of this issue. If you get to the position of the Speaker, then we start taking sides and it will not be good. Two, Honorable Speaker, parties went for election and the law required that you choose which coalition you wanted to belong. At that point, that was to determine which side you belong. There was Azimio and there was Kenya Kwanza. Some people decided to sign agreement with the Kenya Kwanza. Some decided to sign agreements with Azimio. Please, let's respect that position. Then elections were held, results came out. Mr. Speaker, I know some members of Parliament, when we had the first meeting of Azimio in KICC, we had Kina Mutuse with us. It is only after realizing that the presidency is going Segemunege, that is how they shifted to the other side. But the fact that their numbers belonged to Azimio has not changed. Now, basic people here are trying to argue that you can change any other time. No, at the time of election, Azimio was the majority. Give us that position. Honorable Junet Mohammed is our majority leader. Honorable Millie Odhiambo is our majority whip. If you feel numbers have changed, bring that here on the table, we discuss it. That is a different thing. But as at election, Honorable Speaker, Azimio Party is the majority party of this House. Let the Speaker rule. If you feel you have numbers, bring it on. We deal with you. In fact, Osoro, you should be very ashamed. I thought you are a lawyer. Your arguments are below and below as a basic nursery school class. So you cannot tell us that. We are the majority. Mwisho, Mr. Speaker, what I've said about the Speaker's stance, keep the Speaker out of these matters. Because sisi kama Waluya, hiyo ndio kiti tuko nayo peke yake. Msitufanyie mchezo.
Sabina Chege. Sabina Chege. Yes,
Thank you.
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Sabina, hold. Yes, Junet. What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member, Honorable Wamboka, who has just finished his contribution, Mr. Speaker, says that the only seat we have in this parliament, the seat of lawyers, is only yours, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, do we assume now?
Order, Honorable. He also said keep the Speaker out of this. So keep me out of this. Sabina Chege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I want to say that this judgment is meant to bring paralysis in this House. And you need, Mr. Speaker, to make a decision on this matter. Having listened to my colleagues on this judgment, and I've also gone through it, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of consideration on the status quo as on 6th of October, 2022. Mr. Speaker, from 6th of October, many things have changed. Mr. Speaker, after your ruling, we made committees that were formed in this House. Mr. Speaker, there is also Parliamentary Service Commission that was also formed based on the minority and the majority. We have the IBC Select Commission. Mr. Speaker, we also, as a House, gave the leadership. Early this month, Mr. Speaker, we also received communication or reconstitution of the committees. And this afternoon, we're meant to have the House Business Committee. And so, Mr. Speaker, the big question I'm asking myself. So, who are going to be the chairs or the membership based on the majority and minority? And I think as a House, Mr. Speaker, and the fact that you're supposed to give a decision, you need to clear the air on the issue of majority and minority. After 2 years, Mr. Speaker, many things have changed. There are post and there are pre-coalition agreements. There are some coalition agreements that were done before the election, Mr. Speaker. If we take the case of Chap, Mr. Speaker, even before the election, they had left the coalition that they had signed with before. And so as we make the decision, are they part of Azimio? And the other question is, does Azimio still exist? Mr. Speaker, as a Jubilee Party, June 2023, we wrote a letter here as members of Jubilee Committee and requested to be an independent political party. So, Mr. Speaker, as we make this decision, are we going to be counted in Azimio, or are we going to be counted as independent? And because, Mr. Speaker, we hold these positions, we need clear guidance, Mr. Speaker, on this issue, so that as the whip sit down to reallocate the position, we know where we belong. Simple mathematics, if people are doubting, we can do mlolongo as year of time. We can do the calculation on who is on Kenya Kwanza, who is on Azimio, and make a decision, Mr. Speaker, instead of wasting time, Mr. Speaker, on precious time where you're supposed to be passing important bills in this republic. Then, Mr. Speaker, finally, there is broad-based government. So where do we stand?
Thank you. Otienda Molo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for starters, and because not all members have read the judgment, allow me to read 3 paragraphs so that people are in tandem. Paragraph 504. We thus hold and find that the simultaneous holding of the position of Speaker with that of the leader of political party and the leadership positions in the ruling political coalition, as in the case with the current National Assembly, and the concluding part is this dual role is therefore unlawful and unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, that is paragraph 504. They continue in 505. We hold that the Speaker was elected in accordance with Article 106 of the Standing Orders. The fact that he was a party leader at the time of his election could not invalidate his election. However, for the reasons we have given, his position as the leader of Fort Kenya or the leader of any other political office, for that matter, became untenable and inconsequential the moment he assumed the office of the Speaker of the National Assembly. He could not, and he has no capacity to perform any other functions as a leader of a political party or a